Did you know that squatters can legally take ownership of your property under certain conditions? I'm Steve Welty, CEO of Good Life Property Management. We manage over 1,300 homes in San Diego and Orange County. And today I'm going to squat on this topic of squatters. So in this video, I'm going to give you 3 valuable things to know. The first is how squatters can legally own your property in California. That's right. It sounds crazy. It is. But I'm going to let you know what to look out for. Number 2 is a new law in 2024 that gives owners actually some additional protections against squatters and trespassing. And number 3, what you can do to protect your property from squatters. We've actually run into this situation a few times and have some inside information from squatters themselves. So make sure to watch to the end of this video. So people love squatting. I think it's the fact that it's an oddity. It's like really fascinating that someone can break into your home illegally and then live there and have protections under the law. Only in California, right? So although technically not legal, squatters do have rights and are treated as tenants in many cases, and you have to evict them through the court system. So we need to know as housing providers how to protect ourselves from this crazy law. So Steve, how is a squatter going to gain legal ownership to my home? It's through a law or a legal doctrine called adverse possession. Basically what it is that if someone lives in a property continuously without your knowledge for at least 5 years, they can apply to actually own the property. That's right. Super interesting, right? There's a lot of other criteria that need to be met, but for practical purposes, it doesn't apply to most of us who rent properties for a living. If you own an abandoned farm in the Midwest, heads up on that. But most of us are going to be checking out our property somewhat regularly, so we don't have to worry too much about it. But it's a good thing to know. So now let me explain this new law. In 2024, the Senate in California passed SB 602, which allows owners to file electronically a notice of trespassing form with their local sheriff's department and keep it on file for up to a year. So having this trespassing authorization form on file with the sheriff's department will allow the local sheriff to remove a squatter, likely without having to go through the court system. But you got to have it on file in advance. So I Googled for where I could find this form, and the county sheriff's department in San Diego had some information, and it looked pretty clean and easy to submit. Got kind of excited, but then I looked closer at the form, and it requires it be notarized. I'm like, wow, that's difficult. I started looking at some other jurisdictions, and the city of San Diego's form doesn't require it to be notarized. So it looks like each jurisdiction might have some different requirements. So what I recommend is, if you're interested, is Google your city and trespass authorization form and see what the requirements are in your area. So to get these enhanced no trespassing protections, you have to file that form. But then you also need to post a no trespassing sign on your rental property. It just needs to state that a letter of agency has been filed, there's no trespassing, and that this property is closed to the public. So at the end of the day, what does this new law mean for housing providers? It's kind of tough to jump through these hoops. And while it may be well-intentioned law to get something notarized possibly or post no trespassing signs just while you have a few week vacancy isn't going to make sense in most cases. But for those of you who have a longer vacancy or potentially a property that's just going to be permanently vacant, it's good to know that this law exists and how you can get those additional protections. All right, so we've talked about how a squatter can legally take ownership of your property, a new law that gives owners some additional protections against squatters. But how do we actually not get a squatter to begin with? Let's talk about that. So we've had a few squatter situations at Good Life, and our team leader, Dave, has actually talked to some professional squatters and got some inside information on what they look for. So these professional squatters said that typically they'll look for properties with overgrown landscaping or mail piling up. This is a sign that it might be vacant for an extended period of time. So it's super important to maintain curb appeal, even if you're going to have an extended vacancy. They also said that they generally try to avoid properties that are for sale or for rent, like if they have a sign out in front, because they know that these properties are likely to be monitored. They said they'll pass by a couple times, a couple days at night just to see if anyone's there. So having lights that come on at night can also be a deterrent. Or if you have a car or a neighbor who can park in your driveway, if it's going to be vacant for an extended period of time, can also help deter squatters. So what they do is they say they'll break in and then they'll promptly hide the damage or repair it so that it won't hinder their case of trespassing versus squatting. So what the real pros will do is they'll start having mail forwarded to the house, or they'll put utilities in their name. So it's a good idea to keep utilities on so that they have a harder time establishing legal residency at your vacant property. Besides that, just do the basics like check on your property regularly, consider keeping your Ring doorbell or other security system monitored, keep the Wi-Fi on during the vacancy so you'll be alerted if someone goes to your property unannounced, and also just let neighbors know your property is going to be vacant so they can look out for you and let you know if they see something suspicious. By combining all these strategies, you'll greatly reduce the risk of someone squatting in your property and costing you a ton of money. If you got value from this video, please hit that subscribe button. A lot of you who watch regularly are not subscribed. We want to help grow the community and make more helpful videos like this for you.